what I have seen in my tenure in the 5-6 years that I've been here is a willingness to keep padding a bloated status quo. And for far too many Pennsylvanians, that status quo is not working. And the answer Democrats come with all the time is, well, just put more money at a failing system that we have here in Harrisburg. Let Harrisburg run and control your lives. It's not working. Pennsylvanians know it's not working. We have to have a new track. We have to have a new vision. And that new vision is empowering Pennsylvanians to do what's best with their own resources. They'll make the right decisions, and it'll make our Commonwealth better.
By the way, did you know you should keep more of your money? Welcome back to By the Way, Did You Know? And I have today with me two leaders of our caucus who also happen to be two of my better friends in the caucus. And we'll have some fun today, I'm sure. But we're talking about a pretty serious issue and something that they have really spearheaded as we head into budget season here, and something that we care a lot about, and that is cutting taxes. And what better way to cut taxes than a tax that pretty much every Pennsylvanian pays, and that's the income tax. So with me today, I have Representative Tim O'Neill, who's our whip, and Representative Josh Kail, who is our policy chairman. Thanks for being here today, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks.
So you guys introduced 2 weeks ago a bill which cuts the PIT, the personal income tax, so that we are benefiting all Pennsylvanians through some of the surplus money we have. Can you guys talk about that? Representative Kail, give me a little bit of a background on what you guys are proposing.
Yeah, I think what we can see here is a tale of two visions. You have the Democrats' visions of taking more money from Pennsylvanians and spending it through Harrisburg, and you have the Republican vision, which is giving money back to people. The people that pay taxes, give it back to them, let them spend it, let them invest in the Commonwealth. And by the way, with all of the inflation that's happening now, the prices of groceries, of energy, of utilities, people need those resources to make ends meet as well. So this is a win across the board. For every single Pennsylvanian, they know how to spend their money better than Harrisburg does. Democrats want to take more of their money and spend it themselves. That's not the right vision for this Commonwealth. That's why we introduced this tax package.
And Whip O'Neill, why are you leading this charge? Why is this what our caucus needs to be doing as we head into June?
Look, I completely agree with what Josh just said. The reality is cutting taxes will help every Pennsylvania across our Commonwealth. That's the reality. We have depending on who you ask, a $12 to $14 billion surplus. The Democrats' proposal is to just create new programs to continue to spend that money into perpetuity on behalf of our Commonwealth. I will tell you that I've been in office now for 6 years, and I think when I was first elected, our state budget, our state spending was somewhere around $36 billion. This year alone, the proposal is just under 50. So it's gone up nearly $14 billion a year in just 6 years. That's unacceptable. We have a surplus. We have the ability to do it. We should be ensuring that we're taking less of Pennsylvania's money if we're in the situation where we're collecting more.
Yeah, it's $36 billion when I got here as well, $50 billion now. What I have seen in my tenure in the 5-6 years that I've been here is a willingness to keep padding a bloated status quo. And for far too many Pennsylvanians, that status quo is not working. And the answer Democrats come with all the time is, well, just put more money at a failing system. Put more money at a failing system that we have here in Harrisburg. Let Harrisburg run and control your lives. It's not working. Pennsylvanians know it's not working. We have to have a new track. We have to have a new vision. And that new vision is empowering Pennsylvanians to do what's best with their own resources. They'll make the right decisions, and it'll make our Commonwealth better.
And you guys, you both have talked about this, is that the governor in his budget address and House Democrats have proposed increasing the bureaucracy of Harrisburg and all these new programs, all these, piecemeal, okay, we're going to give this money to this group of people, this money to that group of people. What you guys are proposing is giving it to everybody so that they can decide, so that Pennsylvania taxpayers can decide what's best for them.
Here's the reality of the situation. I don't know Adam County numbers, but Josh and I are from Washington County. In Washington County, for every dollar of taxes that we send to Harrisburg, And that's across all the various taxes that we have. For every dollar we send to Harrisburg, we get about 70 cents back on the dollar.
Yep.
But the reality is, if you look at Allegheny County, which is where Pittsburgh is, or Philadelphia County, they're upwards of $1.50 per dollar sent to Harrisburg. You know, I don't know about Adams County. I'm going to make an assumption about Adams County. I know residents of Washington County don't want to send more money to Harrisburg and it end up in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. They want to ensure that they keep more in their own pockets so they can decide, not the Democrats in Harrisburg, not the machine in Harrisburg, on where that money ends up.
And what's amazing to me is that nobody puts a marker out and says, this is when it'll be enough. This is how much we actually need. The answer's always more. Every year we're here, more. And there's no accountability. There's no performance requirements with these bureaucracies. And I'm sick of it. I know Whip O'Neill is sick of it. Our caucus is sick of it. And it's time to give money back to the people that send their hard-earned tax dollars to Harrisburg.
Absolutely, and I think that's the message that we're pushing as a caucus, as the House Republicans, is being the voice of every Pennsylvania, is being the voice of, you know, the laborer that wakes up every morning and just wants to raise money for their family, or the housewife who's raising the kids and getting them on the bus every morning. Not all these pet projects that the governor's proposing, or you know, as you talked about money going to Philadelphia, he proposed sending billions of dollars to Philadelphia for their public transit system that no one even uses. So these are the problems when you don't send money directly to taxpayers, to every average Joe constituent. That's a problem, and we are going to be the voice for those folks in Harrisburg.
No, that's right. And when you start a business, there's accountability with that business. When the money comes in, you have to account for it, you have to show performance for it, and you have to give a return for it. In Harrisburg, it's been far too long where we just send money without any type of accountability, without any type of expectation, whether it's in higher education across the board, or bureaucracies, whatever it is. Even the good things that we are funding, like education funding, there needs to be accountability. We need performance. We need to make sure that this money is being used the way it's supposed to be used. And it's something that's been lacking, and it's something that we are working on actively.
Well, and this week alone is a great example of that, where basically an education funding bill was run through as quickly as possible using procedural moves, so the House Republicans couldn't offer their ideas and couldn't provide our input. And again, House Democrats and the governor just want to give a blank check to public education for $1 billion, $2 billion with no accountability.
And I think there's a recognition within our caucus that we need to spend money on education.
Absolutely.
It's a very important, but the status quo in education, the one that the Democrats keep saying since I've been here, keep saying that the status quo in education isn't working. Their only solution is to extend the status quo. Every year, their only solution is to extend the status quo. It's never to change anything. It's never to challenge or disrupt the system and make sure that we're getting the best out of it for our students. Their answer is extend and bloat the status quo. It's not going to work, and we need to look at it from a different point of view. Yes, we need funding, but we need to look at it from a different perspective.
You know, this conversation always ends up being between, you know, whether it's private schools or charter schools and public schools, even though we all know here in the room that charters are also public schools.
Yeah.
But regardless, that also often becomes this fight. You know, I will tell you, I personally, and I know Torren, you are as well, an advocate of public school. I'm personally a product of public school. My wife is a public school teacher. My children are going to public school, and I know you're all of those categories as well. So 100% we support public school. The reality, though, is to I think it was already mentioned, there aren't ways to hold public schools accountable for how they're using the money as well, to ensure that every dollar or as many dollars as spent as possible are going actually to help that student in the classroom. We need to have accountability metrics for school districts that they have to actually abide by. They have to report on. They have to ensure that they actually tell us how they're going to spend the money. They actually tell us what metrics they're going to measure for spending that money. And until we get to that point, I'm not sure how we fix this system. You know, use Harrisburg School District as an example. For decades, we've been throwing money at the Harrisburg school system. And for decades, the Harrisburg school system has had single-digit rates of proficiency in both math and reading.
Same results.
Same results, and yet we continue to just throw money at the problem. It hasn't worked for the past 2 decades. It's not going to work this time around.
I think you hit something that's very important to note. This isn't about being punitive towards schools. It's not about being punitive towards public schools, private schools, charter schools. It's about accountability to get results for children, to make sure our families have the best options available. Just allowing the system to go as it's going is not going to get us there. We have failing schools that are in crisis modes right now that need help. And they need some level of accountability because those kids need help and those families need help. And we need to make sure that those families have the resources and the choices to be successful.
Yeah, and so kind of getting back to the reduction in the income tax, the governor talks all the time about being competitive with other states. We had a policy hearing yesterday where Nate Bedingfield from the Commonwealth Foundation provided a couple maps showing net migration into Pennsylvania and out of Pennsylvania, and it was pretty clear that we are gaining some population from states like New York, New Jersey, which have very high taxes. Maryland have high taxes, but we're losing a significant amount of population to states in the South that have a very competitive and tax environment, low tax rate or no tax rate. And it's pretty obvious that people are voting with their feet. They're moving to places that have a competitive tax structure. Why can't Pennsylvania be like that?
Yeah, and look, I understand why someone would want to leave New Jersey. Well, have you ever been to New Jersey? But there's no reason why people should be leaving Pennsylvania. And there's no logical reason. Let me rephrase that. There's no logical reason. I know the reason why they're leaving Pennsylvania. It's because of Harrisburg. We have the natural resources. We have the industry. We have the access to market. We have the ability to get capital to Pennsylvania. All this meaning we have the capacity to have a massive jobs boom within Pennsylvania. And the only thing that's in the way is Harrisburg. Whether it's regulatory issues, the permitting process, the tax structure, that's what's keeping people from coming to Pennsylvania and staying here and building a family here. That's what's sending our kids around the country. We need to have reform in Harrisburg. The status quo is not working for Pennsylvanians. We need to disrupt that status quo, and we need to make real reforms to make this Commonwealth a better place for our kids and their generation so that people want to come here.
And let's be honest about this tax cut proposal. First and foremost, just so everybody's aware, this exact proposal has already passed the state Senate. It passed in bipartisan fashion.
Veto-proof majority.
Veto-proof majority with both Republicans and Democrats supporting it. So there's broad support for this concept. But let's be honest about it. It's not going to solve all the problems we have. We're talking about state income taxes, which is a relatively small portion of overall taxes that people pay. It's not going to. This is just the tip of the iceberg on what we need to do to help people across our Commonwealth. The House Republican Caucus is going to continue to push for additional measures to do exactly that. And like I said, this is us just getting started.
Yeah, and so real quickly before we get out of here, can you explain exactly what you guys are proposing? Because there's a gross receipts tax, Can you explain those two things real quick?
Yeah, there's two major components of the piece of legislation that we proposed, and like I said, that passed the Senate as well. It is a 10% reduction in personal income tax. Our current personal income tax is 3.07. It takes it down to 2.8. Again, I don't think personally that's enough, but it's a start. The second component is what's referred to as the gross receipts tax on electricity bills. So there's this particular tax that is tacked onto everybody's bill all across the Commonwealth who pays an electricity bill. This eliminates it completely. So there's two components to it. You know, an average family of four can expect to save somewhere around $1,000 per year with the two of them combined. Again, that by no means is going to solve all of our problems, but we got to start somewhere. This is the place to start, and then go from there.
And it's really important that we send a message as a caucus that our vision is to give resources back to the people of Pennsylvania, not to take more from them so Harrisburg can decide how to spend it. We want the constituents of this Commonwealth to decide how to spend their own money because we know that they'll do what's best with it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty simple. I mean, if you boil it down to that, I think our message as a House Republicans is to say that we want taxpayer money to go back to taxpayers.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. And we're going to continue to lead that charge as we head into to June and budget negotiations, and we'll see what happens here. But I think this is also an opportunity to show what we stand for as House Republicans. So, guys, I appreciate you being here, as always. Two of my best friends up here in Harrisburg, and we didn't get into. They didn't beat me up.
Must not have many friends.
I know. Here we go. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. So we all have some fun together too, and I appreciate you guys being nice to me today. It was great to have you here. Thanks for being leaders in our caucus and taking this and really messaging what we stand for as House Republicans, and appreciate you being here.
This has been, By the Way, Did You Know? Tune in for all of my podcasts at repecker.com/mypodcast.